Ran is in between them, hustled up. Normandy Landing is fourth through the opening furlong, and absolutely no early speed from Mongolian Gold, who's already double digits behind. It's Fast Chaz with less than 7 furlongs to run, leading a half length. Duran, Nuclear moves up on the outside with the orange cap, and Normandy Landing couldn't ask for a better trip in fourth off these three on the lead. It's a distance to Mongolian Gold. They come to the 5/8 pole, and Fast Chaz leads it by a head. Nuclear on even terms with him, and Duran in between those two. Kazushi Kimura and Normandy Landing fourth, just 2 lengths off the battle, and almost 20 lengths back to Mongolian Gold. They're heading toward the 3/8 pole, still 3 across the track. Fast Chaz, Duran, Nuclear. Normandy Landing is fourth. Called on now, has to go 4 wide. Heading toward the quarter pole. Duran in between horses, Fast Chaz, Nuclear, and here's Normandy Landing. 4 of them line up, and Normandy Landing with a big move at the quarter pole is up to take the lead. Nuclear did not go on. Fast Chaz and Duran, they're in the final furlong, and Normandy Landing has opened up a 3-4 length lead. Duran moves into second. A late run from Mongolian Gold, who was absolutely nowhere. He's going to get into second, but it's a no doubt about a performance for Normandy Landing. Normandy Landing by 3.5. Mongolian Gold with a stellar rally. Then Duran and Fast Chaz. Jay Dutton in the gate, and they're off. Motivating Force and Jay Dutton both out alertly. Here's Capital Outlay now sprinting up to take the lead. Just behind them, Travelin' Show with the red blinkers, and Western Grid is also showing speed up to be a joint second. Motivating Force, who broke on top, is now 5 lengths off the lead. Datsuk moves up on the inside. Gap of 4 to Just a Graze. Lucky and Smart is just inside of him, and Ignatowski. And then it's a long, long way back to Mucho Suerte. Moving into the far turn, Capital Outlay, Western Grit going at it. 2.5, Travelin' Show in third. Datsuk fourth. Jay Dutton gets a reminder on the outside. And Motivating Forces racing in between rivals. At the rail, Lucky and Smart. Just a Graze, Orange Cap, 3 clear of Ignatowski. They're at the top of the stretch. Narrow advantage for Capital Outlay. Chased intently by Travelin' Show, who's closing with every stride. And Travelin' Show is up to get the lead. Good run from Lucky and Smart as Travelin' Show opens up 3. Lucky and Smart rallies into second. Late run from Just a Graze. It's Travelin' Show. That's 2 for Kazushi Kimura. Lucky and Smart second. Photo for third between Capital Outlay and Just a Graze. Then Western Grit. $22 minutes to post. Scratch 1 Airbus. There's no super high 5 here. The $2,400 carryover goes over to race 6 for the super high 5. Goes in. They're in the gate. And they're off. Seattle Breakout, Soul of Midnight, 55, Tiz Talk, Aurelian Man, Bravestone at the back in the opening furlongs. And so Soul of Midnight now sprints to take the lead. It's Soul of Midnight in front, a length and a half. Seattle Breakout second, Bravestone in a tad tight down at the rail. 55 in the orange, and Tiz Talk in heavy traffic. Outside of him comes Aurelian Man. Compact group covered by less than 4. They have 5.5 furlongs to go. And it's Soul of Midnight, the pacemaker a length. Seattle Breakout just in front of 55 in third. Then Bravestone down at the rail. Outside of him, it's Aurelian Man, has 3.5 to make up as Tiz Talk is moving up 1 from the rail. They have to catch Soul of Midnight at the half-mile pole. Leading the way, has it by 2 lengths. Seattle breakout between rivals. 55 is on the outside, and Tiz Talk, Aurelian Man, Bravestone. Past the 3/8 pole, it's Soul of Midnight, untroubled. Has to kick on now, leads it by a length. Seattle breakout in 55, Tiz Talk on the fence, and then Aurelian Man with a quarter of a mile to go. Soul of Midnight, 55 on the outside, takes second. At the rail, Tiz Talk, less than 3/16 of a mile to go. Soul of Midnight clinging to the lead. Seattle breakout trying to get to him. They're inside the 8th pole. Tiz Talk game on the fence. Past that 16th pole, Soul of Midnight, Tiz Talk finds his best stride, and Seattle breakout, Tiz Talk with a ground-saving journey. Here's the line. Tiz Talk got the money. Seattle breakout, Soul of Midnight, and 55. Thank you, racing fans. They're in the gate, and they're off. Ghostly Act is out very alertly. Here comes Moon Ice along the inside. Moon Ice takes the lead. Finner's Golden Sense is now moving into second. They're followed by Ghostly Act third. Unusual Measure is next, followed by Drive for Show, 5 lengths off the lead. Anthem is next. Charlie Pride, who is off slowly, moves up inside of him. Then Handsome Red and Dopiton Star at the back of the field. They move into the far turn. Moon Ice traveling comfortably, leads 3/4 of a length. Finner's Golden Sense in second. Then Ghostly Act, 3 wide third. Took a little awkward step there and backs up. Drive for Show is down at the rail. Antibes is awaiting racing room. He's having to steady and climbing a bit between rivals. Then comes Unusual Measure on the outside as the field turns for home. Moon Ice hugs the rail and spurts away. It's Moon Ice with a 6-length lead. Antibes in the center of the course. Drive for Show weaving through traffic. Down at the rail, Charlie Pride finishing with interest along with Ghostly Act. Moon Ice in a runaway. Moon Ice, another for Hector Barrios, scores by 4. Photo for second looked to be Charlie Pride, another photo involving Antibes and Ghostly Act. And then behind them, it was Handsome Red finishing with a bit of interest, battling with Drive for Show.
He looks so happy in this work too. This is going to be his most recent drill over the synthetic here at Santa Anita, minute and change. I'm still kind of trying to gauge what
In the gate, and they're off in the Californian. Mixto out alertly. Here's Judge Miller up to take the lead pretty easily. Then it's Mr. Fisk and None Above the Law. By the stands, pace moderate. Judge Miller cruises. 1-length lead. Mixto's second. The gray is None Above the Law, hugging the fence. And Mr. Fisk is at the back of the field. 7 furlongs to run. And it's Judge Miller and Mike Smith, uncontested up top. Leads it by 2. Mixto, None Above the Law, and Mr. Fisk has 3 lengths to make up as they come to the 6 furlong pole. Judge Miller breezing along, 1.5 lengths in front of Mixto. None Above the Law under a hold at the rail in third, and Mr. Fisk is just outside of him. They run past the 5/8 pole in the Californian, and it's Judge Miller, None Above the Law, looking to come through and try and put some pressure on him with Mixto 3 deep, yellow cap. And Mr. Fisk continues at the back of this compact group that has less than a half mile to travel. And it's Judge Miller in charge, maintaining that lead of 1.5 lengths. Mike Smith lets it out a notch now on Judge Miller. Mixto trying to get after him. There goes Mr. Fisk with his bid. Mr. Fisk sprints up alongside of Judge Miller, and these two go on. Mr. Fisk has put his head in front at the quarter pole. Judge Miller going with him. 2.5 more to Mixto. None above the law could not keep up. 3/16 of a mile to go. Mr. Fisk running a giant race has the lead over Judge Miller, who's trying to come back, but it's Mr. Fisk with the upper hand coming to the 16th pole, and he's pulling away. Judge Miller could not match strides. Mixto is in third. It's Mr. Fisk in a strong performance to win the Californian. Judge Miller held second. Mixto was third. There's no high five wagering with the scratches of 4 Lamborghini and 6 Sakura Blossom. Post time in 21 minutes. They're in the gate. Almost set. And they're off in the Providencia. Brand New Dream in the center of the course. Here's Shiloh's Mistress coming through on the fence, and they're joined by Pink Whitney, widest of all. Medoro's in some traffic early on and a bit keen. Inside of her, it's Circle of Trust and English Danger at the back. 4 lengths covers the field by the stands the first time. And it's Shiloh's Mistress. There's room for Modoro, and Modoro gets that breathing room and is up to engage Shiloh's Mistress as they move into the first turn. Brand New Dream, 2 off the pace while very wide in third. Circle of Trust moves through, takes that third spot. They're followed by Pink Whitney, who has 4 to make up, and English Danger is down at the rail. Onto the backstretch, Umberto Rispoli and Shiloh's Mistress will carve out the fractions, tracked by the heavy favorite Modoro, who's a half length back in second. A length and a half more to Brand New Dream, covering Circle of Trust. Then it's Pink Whitney in fifth and English Danger. No change in the running order. Shiloh's Mistress takes them into the far turn, leading by a half length to Modoro. Then it's Circle of Trust, Brand New Dream, side by side. Pink Whitney, fifth, 5 lengths off the lead now. English Danger is down on the rail. They're coming to the quarter pole, Shiloh's Mistress and Modoro. These 2 noses apart, Modoro on the outside, Shiloh's Mistress hanging tough. Another 3 lengths back comes Circle of Trust in third. They're in the final furlong. It's Modoro and Shiloh's Mistress. Modoro just in front. Shiloh's Mistress. Circle of Trust is in third. Shiloh's Mistress coming back on Modoro. Modoro, Shiloh's Mistress. Modoro, Shiloh's Mistress. Photo between those 2. Modoro and Shiloh's Mistress put on quite a show. Circle of Trust a solid third. Mano Rose to the outside. They're in the gate. And they're off. Perfect start. Mano Rose, very quick out of the gate. Princip moves through along the inside, and in between them, Sully now up to take second. Here's Hard to Figure coming through along the inside, and Hard to Figure up to take second with Mano Rose, the leader. Mano Rose, Hard to Figure, followed by Sully. Fifth Street is racing in fourth, but just 2 lengths off the lead. Then Princip and Pop Doro. 5 lengths covers the field. They have less than a half mile to go. And it's Man-O Rose just in front. Hard to Figure, sent after him on the inside. But it is Man-O Rose in control and starting to pull away. Opens it up to 3/4 of a length. Just behind them, Sully is in third. Swinging to the outside, Fifth Street, 3 deep in fourth. It's a gap of 5 back to Princip and Pop Doro. They turn for home, and Man-O Rose in command. Lets it out a notch and opens up. It's a 5-length lead with a furlong left to go. Princip splits rivals to move into second, but is no match for Man-O Rose. Man-O Rose, good-looking performance, wins it by 5 while under a hold. Princip, Hard to Figure, then Fifth Street and Sully in a photo. For this Hollywood meet, running from now until June 16th, including April 27th, next Saturday, Hot Wings and Cold Craft Beer event trackside. And they're off. Fast start for Calm Sea, who's going out for the early lead. Now here comes Mo Rewards sprinting up, and Mo Rewards crosses the dirt just in front as they come into the stretch for the first time. Mo Rewards with a length and a half lead. Calm Sea is racing in second, and just behind them, One of These Days, racing right next to Bee Catcher, who's fourth. A length and a half back to Order in Law. Then it's Maltese Falcon on the inside of Golden Eye. Another 3 lengths to the 2 trailers, Better Than Gold, and Lincoln Hawk is at the back, 10 lengths off the lead, which is held by Mo Rewards into the clubhouse turn. Calm Sea a half leg back in second. One of These Days is down at the rail. Bee Catcher racing in between rivals. Then it's Order in Law, Maltese Falcon in the red, tucked in 5 off the lead. They're followed by Golden Eye, who's making an early bid, while 4 wide, 3 clear of Better Than Gold, and Lincoln Hawk. Down the back stretch, and Golden Eye keen going right after Mo Rewards. Mo Rewards, but Golden Eye quickens things on the outside, and Calm Sea in between those two. Just behind them, One of These Days is fourth with less than a half mile to travel. Then it's Order in Law on the outside of Bee Catcher, Maltese Falcon, Better Than Gold, and Lincoln Hawk continues at the back. Around the far turn, that bid from Golden Eye, flattening out just a touch. It's Mo Rewards and Calm Sea going on with it. Behind them, Maltese Falcon is launching a bid in between horses, now going toward the rail as the field turns for home. Calm Sea in front, opens up 3, putting away Mo Rewards. Maltese Falcon is finishing nicely in second, and here comes Maltese Falcon on the outside. It's Calm Sea or Maltese Falcon. Maltese Falcon. Big day for these connections. Red Baron's Barn and Rancho Temescal. Maltese Falcon caps off a huge day for Hector Barrios as well. Calm Sea, One of These Days, got in there for a minor award. And in behind that, horses involved, including Order in Law and Lincoln Hawk.
It's a beautiful day at the racetrack, but I'm not just talking about the weather, which of course is beautiful, 80 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, but it's a beautiful day because human beings are congregating here at the Great Race Place. You know, friendships are being made, friendships are being rekindled, acquaintances, relationships. You see it all the time, particularly if you come to the racetrack. And I'm happy to say the gentleman sitting next to me, this is a rekindling of an acquaintanceship we started 30 years ago, almost to the day. The 1994 Kentucky Derby is when we first met. I'm happy to call him a friend. He's the turf writer for the Southern California News Group, which comprises 11 papers here in Southern California. His name, Kevin Modesti. Kevin, happy Sunday. Welcome to the seminar.
Good to be here.
This is long overdue, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You've never been a guest on my seminar, yet we have that relationship going back 30 years.
Well, I appreciate you having me. It's always fun to talk racing with somebody who knows what he's doing.
But 30 years goes by fast, doesn't it? It's amazing that 1994, when Go for Gin won the Kentucky Derby, we met in Louisville, Kentucky prior to the running of the Kentucky Derby, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I remember it. Those were the days. A lot has changed in racing.
A lot's changed in the world.
I covered racing, went away. Now I'm back. But as much as has changed in racing, you know, you watch a race and it's still pretty much the same thing that we fell in love with whenever it was in our youth, right? I always think about this. You watch film of baseball or basketball or football from the 1950s, and it looks very different,
yes.
Right? You watch a horse race from the 1950s, and the only thing that tells you that that's the 50s and not kind of now is the quality of the
Correct.
film and the videotape.
Correct.
Otherwise, racing is kind of the same sport.
It's
And
been
at the same themes, the same handicapping themes, different tools maybe for handicapping, but still the same fascinating process.
it's certainly a passion for both you and I, Kevin. And of course, you love horse racing, and that's your current position. But since I met you 30 years ago, you actually did a lot of work in other sports as well. You mentioned Major League Baseball. Talk just a little bit about your career, where you were in 1994 and where you're at today.
1994, I had, I was 3-4 years into covering racing full time at a time when every newspaper had a full time horse racing writer, it seemed. But I had previously covered the Dodgers for a few years. I would soon thereafter start to do racing part time and write general interest sports columns full time, and got very lucky because this was the period of the Shaq and Kobe Lakers dynasty.
Sure.
The Pete Carroll USC dynasty, if you will, Angels winning the World Series. There was just a lot going on. So I'm really lucky that I got to do that. Racing has always been in a kind of a different category. It certainly is for sports fans, and it kind of is for me too. But it's been a niche favorite of mine to cover. And that continues today.
I mentioned the Southern California News Group has 11 papers here in Southern California. Of course, we can find your work online. But what are some of those 11 newspapers? Because local people certainly will recognize them. Effectively, it's everybody but the LA Times.
You could put it that way. We have them surrounded. The LA Daily News, Orange County Register, Long Beach Press Telegram, South Bay Daily Breeze. Here in the Santa Anita neighborhood, Pasadena Star News, San Gabriel Valley Tribune. I could go on, but 11 papers that still care about racing, which
It's a beautiful thing.
which is not to be taken for granted in the modern newspaper world. And I don't mean that to say that newspapers are casting aside horse racing any more than they're casting aside any other minor, quote, minor sports. You don't see a tennis column, a golf column anymore. But that has more to do with the shrinkage of newspapers than anything that racing, for instance, is doing wrong. But Tom Moore, the sports editor of the Southern California News Group, cares about racing and cares about racing fans and is committed to keeping coverage going. As you know, I returned to the beat under sad circumstances. Art Wilson, who covered racing for the news group for more than a decade, passed away in February. So I was asked to return and try to keep up what he had been doing. So, I'm just a part of it. I write a weekly racing column on Fridays, appears in Friday's papers, online Thursday, with commentary and news and notes. I cover the big races, cover whatever racing news there is to be covered. But we also have Bob Mazurski's full handicap every day of racing at Santa Anita, Del Mar, or Los Alamitos thoroughbreds. We have full result charts. And then online, an old school consensus box with picks from Bob Mazurski, Terry Terrell, Eddie Wilson, and myself. So it's a little. I think you use the term old school, and I'm going to keep using that because you mean it in the good sense.
What I love about your work, Kevin, is that although it only appears once a week, it's what I refer to as long range type of writing, right? A lot of snippets now online, whether it's Twitter, you look at something, wherever you might find it, but you actually are able to dive in depth, like we're talking about Juan Hernandez's career going forward. And I'm sure that's kind of rewarding to you because we don't see that type of journalism very often anymore.
Well, it is rewarding. I'm trying to just keep my eye on the ball and realize that I'm helping if I just keep people up to date on what is going on in racing, both locally and nationally as it pertains to Southern California fans, and what's going to be coming up on the weekend that people should know about. Sometimes that racing column will be the only racing headline in an LA newspaper or a bunch of LA newspapers all week. So I better get my arms around it and bring people up to date. So that's the fun, and it's fun. when I came back to starting doing this at the end of February, I realized a lot of the trainers are the same people who I covered more than a decade ago. The jockeys are almost all new faces to me, so it's been fun to talk to some of them and get to know them, both as people, but also as as athletes, try to figure out what their strengths and weaknesses are.
What we want to get to know is who Kevin likes on today's 10 race card. He's got his selections ready to go. We're going to find out who those might be. But before we do any of that, let's toss the microphone over to track announcer Frank Miramati and get the early changes on a beautiful Sunday afternoon here at Santa Anita Park.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Santa Anita Park. The track is fast. The turf course is firm. The rail on the turf at 10 feet. Here are the changes. In the first, number 2, Jane Austen, 1 pound over. 4, Miss Bojay, 1 pound over. And scratch number 6, Applefest. Scratches are jockey changes in race 2. In the third, number 1, Thirsty Love will carry 1 pound over. Fourth race, the Siren Lure Stakes, starts the middle pick 4 with no program changes. In the fifth, start of the pick 6, scratch 1, Pacific Rose. Scratch number 2, Show Card. 1 and 2 are out. No high five wagering. In the sixth race, start of the all-turf pick 3, which is on races 6, 8, and 10. Number 7, Fly the Sky, make the jockey Kyle Frey. Seventh race, 2, Gavea, 1 pound over. And scratch number 4, Arrogate's Spirit. Race 7, take out the 4. In the 8th, scratch number 1, Dendera. There's no high five wagering. The 9th race, the Grade 2 Santa Maria Stakes. Golden Hour pick 4 starts with a scratch of number 1, Big Novel. And in the 10th, number 3, Another Summer, the jockey is Ricky Gonzalez. Ricky Gonzalez rides number 3. 6, Wishes to Riches, 1 pound over. And scratch the also eligibles, 10, 11, and 12. Excuse me, 12, 13, and 14. 12, 13, and 14 out of race 10 are the scratched horses, the also eligibles. Enjoy your day at the Great Race Place. We are 58 minutes away from the opener at 1 p.m. Back to Quigley's Corner. In the paddock area, his special guest today is Kevin Modesti.
Welcome back. We're talking horses with Kevin Modesti. He's the turf writer for the Southern California News Group. You heard him rattle through all 11 titles that are underneath that corporate umbrella. Nevertheless, before Kevin even got involved from a corporate standpoint, he was also working for the Daily Bruin, which is the newspaper that is published on the campus of UCLA. Some other famous alumni who worked there includes Ed Burghardt, former announcer at Los Alamitos. You've been over at Los Alamitos, I'm sure, a few times and rubbed shoulders with Ed. But let's talk about what type of handicapper you are, Kevin. I see you printed out the daily racing form. Of course, you follow the game very religiously. But when you kind of get the, the fresh set of printed PPs, what are some of the things you do initially to try and identify a winner?
Yeah, well, like a lot of people who grew up in Southern California in the 1970s, came of age as a racing fan. I read a lot of Gordon Jones and I read a lot of Andy Beyer. So I naturally gravitated early on to speed figures.
Sure.
And still value them very highly. I think I understand my way around them and when they matter and when they don't. But I feel like I've broadened my handicapping over the 45 years that I've been trying to figure it out. And so I try not to miss anything. With my red pen. I make marks on factors on every horse that I think are interesting, and I only kick myself when I look at the consensus box the next morning and I see that Bob Mazursky made a pick that I didn't name, and I say why, and I realize, oh, I missed that, So I try to be kind of all inclusive as much as I can. We all start out looking for the secret, right?
The Holy Grail.
The number, the angle, the system. And eventually, if we're smart, we realize the only secret is there is no one secret.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Every race is different. That's the beauty of it. Every class level, distance, whatever it is different, and every individual race is different. So the first challenge, I think, is to figure out, well, what's going to decide this race, and get sort of an overall picture of each race that you look at, and then dive in and decide, well, this is a race where speed figures are going to tell me something, or this is a race where old school class handicapping is going to tell me something, or workouts, or whatever. So I can't pin myself down. I don't want to pin myself down anymore. But I've also tried to become much more value conscious.
Of course, from a wagering
we
standpoint.
we all knew from the start that you have to pay attention to price. You have to demand fair or better than fair odds. But it's hard to do. And I've tried to make more of a commitment. So not so much in my handicapping for the consensus box, but in my own playing, I want to have an idea of what that horse ought to go off at, and it saves me from a lot of losing bets chasing poor odds. You know what I mean?
I do. Let's put those principles into practice here, Kevin. Kicking things off in race number 1. If you don't have a program in front of you, race number 1 is honored of the Permanently Disabled Jockey Fund, which, of course, is having their telethon today. I would strongly encourage you, and I'm sure we'll have some on-track promotions throughout the day, to considering donating to the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund. They certainly risk their lives each and every time they get on the back of a racehorse, and it's a noble venture that we're proud here at Sandy to be a part of. But we're kicking things off in race number 1, sprinting 7 furlongs on the main track for maiden special weight, fillies and mares. We've got a field of 5 after the scratch of number 6, Applefest. The original morning line favorite and the current betting choice at 8-5 is the rail filly, number 1, Quick Brown Fox. Before we get your thoughts on the race, Kevin, I wanted to show a workout courtesy of our friends at xbtv.com for Quick Brown Fox. This was a workout back on February 29th. Let's roll the tape and watch Queen Brown Fox in action. The first thing that comes to mind is Queen Brown Fox is on the inside. Take a look at the work made on the outside. It's a graded stakes winner, albeit on turf from the Richard Mandela barn also. It's a runner by the name of Planetario. And the one thing that kind of is striking as we watch the workout is look at the size difference. Quick Brown Fox is a 3-year-old filly making her debut today. Planetario on the outside, as I mentioned, a graded stakes winner, looks a little bit tiny compared to good old Queen Brown Fox. So I think she's got some, scope to her. I think probably also that's why Richard is starting her off, sprinting 7 furlongs on the main track. Now, that's the good news. Frankie Dettori, who's back in town, will also be in the saddle today. The bad news is after this workout that we're watching was back on February 29th, we didn't see her in the mornings again until April 3rd earlier this month. So she missed about a month of training. She was actually entered in a race and scratched. So I'm not sure what happened, and she's picked up her training since then, just as brilliantly as what we're watching here on February 29th. But to me, Kevin, I know you're trying to beat her today, but down on the inside with the exercise rider, not asking her for any sort of effort and still outworking a graded stakes winner, that certainly picked my head up, albeit the price is relatively short.
I wish I'd known that. Why didn't you show me this before? Well, that's very respectable. And if you're picking Quick Brown Fox, I certainly wouldn't talk you off her at all. I mean, I saw this as a race between the best of the knowns and the best of the first timers, and I thought the best of the experienced ones is Ms. Bo J, number 4, cranked up with a sharp workout last time, gets Edwin Maldonado, who knows what to do with a horse who likes to be at or close to the front. So I went with number 4 on top, and then early on I thought the best of the first timers would be number 2, Jane Austen. But I certainly have to consider the possibility that Quick Brown Fox is showing a lot in the morning.
4 and 2 in race number 1 for our seminar guest today, Kevin Modesti. Kevin, let's turn the page. Take a look at race number 2. We're sprinting 5.5 furlongs on the turf course. The rail stood there at 10 feet. Also, race 2 begins the 50-cent early pick 4. This is a starter allowance race for runners that have started for a claiming price of $25,000 or less, either last year or this year. We've got a field of 7. Number 3, Gimme the Loot, is the 9-5 morning line favorite. 5 of the 7 runners in today's field in today's second race actually exit the same race. It was the race back on March 9th. It was the very first race won by Cane Creek Road. We're going to watch the replay in just a second of that particular effort. There's a number of runners you could look at, including Barristan the Bold and Gimme the Loot. But the one I want you to focus your attention on is the winner, Cane Creek Road. In this replay, he's going to break from post position number 5. And what happens turning for home is not something you see very often. The jockey actually lost his irons, and you'll see him using his right hand to get his leg back in his irons and still emerge victorious. So I thought it was a great sign of athleticism from jockey Tony Fresu to actually get his foot back in the irons and ride Cane Creek Road to victory. So let's watch the replay. Cane Creek Road is going to break from post position number 6, and obviously Frank Miramati will be describing the action.
And they're off. Devil Moon is going out for the early lead. Cane Creek Road is up close. Here comes Solardi flying through along the inside, and Disco Tribute. Gimme the Loot is next. Barristan the Bold might have bobbled. One of them to the outside did. And then it's Canderel as the trailer. Into the far turn, it's Solardi and Devil Moon going at it into the far turn with Cane Creek Road 2 back in 3rd. At the rail, Disco Tribute is 4th. Barristan the Bold has 5 lengths to make up. Gimme the Loot, and then another 3 back to Canderel. They have a quarter of a mile to go. Devil Moon is the leader. Solardi re-rallying along the inside. Just behind them, Cane Creek Road is in 3rd. At the rail, Gimme the Loot is making some headway. It's still wide open coming to the 16th pole. Here's Cane Creek Road on the outside, surging to the front, and it's Cane Creek Road to win it by almost a length. Gimme the Loot was second. Then it's a photo for 3rd, a close one indeed for 3rd. It went to Disco Tribute, who was right on the inside of Barristan the Bold.
Kevin, that replay we just watched where Cane Creek Road emerged victorious was at a distance of 5 furlongs. Today's distance is 5.5, which might benefit runners, including Gimme the Loot and Barristan the Bold. I know because I saw who your picks were in advance that you like one of those runners.
Yeah, that was very impressive what you just showed. But Freso did that so effortlessly and seemingly
incredible,
seamlessly, that I don't think it probably took anything away from the horse's performance, and obviously it didn't prevent a victory. The 5 horses coming out of the same race include the 1-2 finishers. I'm going to go with the 5th place finisher, which is number 1, Barristan the Bold, and that number 1 is key. Because a bad trip last time included being floated very wide into the stretch. I'm hopeful that moving from post 6 to post 1 this time will prevent any such disaster from recurring. We know that post 1 in a sprint can be can present its own problems, but I expect him to be able to sit behind a number of speed horses and make a run at a better price than we would get on some others.
Race number 3, we're back on the main track. 6.5 furlongs the distance. It's a maiden claiming race for $20,000 claimers. We've got a field of 6. Number 2, Carol's Comic, who is taking the blinkers off for trainer Val Brinkerhoff as the 8-5 morning line favorite. Give us your thoughts on race 3, Kevin.
Yeah, Carol's Comic is hard to pick with any confidence.
0 for 20 maiden.
Exactly.
What could go wrong?
Right, exactly. But that last outing was an improved effort, and he chased a very short-priced front runner and just wasn't quite going to go by. So I have to put him on top, but I would not talk anybody out of Magic Account, who I think is probably the best of the ones who haven't run nearly 20 times without without winning.
2 and 6 in race number 6. Let's take a look at race number 4. On a 10-race card or greater number of races, Sandy offers a 50-cent middle pick for, which today begins in race number 4, and it's a stakes race coming down the Hillside Turf Course. It's the Siren Lure Stakes, $100,000 guarantee. Five hard-knocking horses in this particular race, including a runner who thrives on the downhill turf course. Number 3, First Piece, who is 2-1 on the morning line, the favorite according to John White. How'd you see this race, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Lane Way to avenge a defeat last time to Mucho del Oro. Lane Way had a poor trip, dropped much farther back than he has ever been successful doing before, and then had traffic coming into the stretch and still got up to be third. I don't know why I keep saying she. He has been very good second off a layoff before, and that's the circumstance today. And Kimura is a rider who has done his best work, statistically at least, in turf sprints.
Had multiple winners yesterday on yesterday's card.
Exactly. Yeah. So
He didn't win the Sovereign Award up in Canada for nothing. He knows what he's doing.
Exactly. And as I say, turf sprints seem to be an area of comfort. So that maybe puts me over the top on Lane Way.
Fair enough. Let's take a look at race number 5. Race number 5 begins the $1 pick 6. Congratulations to the lucky ticket holders that hit the pick 6 yesterday. And we kicked today's pick 6 off in race number 5, sprinting 6.5 furlongs on the main track. It's a straight allowance race for 3-year-old fillies. There are 2 scratches. Scratch the inside 2 runners. Pacific Rose and Show Card will not compete. Leaves us with a field of 5. The debut winner, number 5, In Theory, from the Bob Baffert barn. 5-2 on the morning line, likely to go lower. Give us your thoughts on race 5, Kevin.
I changed my pick from what I did in the paper. I think I had Magic Account maybe on top in the paper, but upon further consideration, I've gone with Navy Bell, number 4, who was very strong in her debut, outrunning Show Card, who's in this race, and in fact has the highest figure in this race, before an out of her element experience last time. Shall we say? So I think Navy Bell looks like the one, and then In Theory, number 2, should do nothing but get better off an open lengths win.
Kevin, you talked about how when you came back to the track on a full-time basis now, you saw a lot of familiar faces in the trainer colony. Does talking to them and getting information either help or hurt your handicapping? In other words, what I'm trying to say is too much information, either a good thing or a bad thing. You've walked the beat. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do try to separate those two. I have nothing against turf riders gambling. We would have no turf riders.
I encourage it.
Right? Yeah, and in fact,
understand the game better.
I'm only half joking if I say I think sports writers in a lot of sports would be better if they paid more attention to the handicapping side of it.
Yes.
Right? It makes you pretty darn rational, or closer to rational.
Puts it in a different lens.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes it brings some objectivity to it. So I don't walk around asking trainers,
of course,
questions that are geared to should I be betting on your horse. But more information is always good, right? And I do think it's valuable to read the racing forum, read the papers, and see what trainers are saying about their horses.
Horse adds blinkers, and all of a sudden in the morning it wakes up the horse.
Right.
Trainer isn't touting you to handicap the horse, but you certainly would be foolish not to pay attention.
Right. And read between the lines. I mean, sometimes you can tell if a trainer is counting on a winning performance this time, or looking down the road and preparing a horse.
Let's take a look at race number 6. Kevin begins the 50-cent late pick 5. Also begins the $3 all turf pick 3, and we're going a 1 1/8 miles on the turf course for Calbred. Allowance optional claiming types, non-winners of one other than. Jockey change on the 7, Fly the Sky, now being ridden by Kyle Frey. Number 4, Red Cross Knight from the John Sadler barn. 8-5 on the morning line. Maldonado in the saddle. What are your thoughts on race 6, Kevin?
Yeah, this is a race where I turn to others for help. It brings together the 2, 3, 4 finishers from a race on March the 23rd. In the consensus box in my papers today, our handicappers make cases for all 3 of those horses, right? I picked Red Cross Knight on top. That was a race last time where he dueled with a horse who looked like a contender and ended up being dueled into a last place finish, while Red Cross Knight held on for second. I thought Red Cross Knight is just the most consistent and hard hitting of the 3 coming out of that last race. But I wouldn't dispute anybody who picks Moogie Sun or Dick Best, and I think it's one of those cases where you have to decide if you're a pick 6 or pick 5 player. Do you try to single from among those 3 and gain an advantage, or do you have to use them all, even though none of them is going to get you a big price?
Spoken like a true person who struggles with ticket structure, that's for sure, because that's the name of the game. Not just identifying winners, but then how do you structure your ticket to craft a winning one? Race number 7 is a full field of 10 going 1 mile on the main track. It also begins the 50-cent late pick 4. The morning line favorite is drawn on the outside. The lukewarm morning line favorite, number 10, Bad Sneakers, 7-2 on the morning line. However, before we get your thoughts on the race, Kevin, I wanted to show an interesting workout for the Invader drawn right inside of Bad Sneakers, number 9, Mo's a Handful, now in the Phil D'Amato barn, a private purchase who is now here in Southern California. Let's watch this workout that we're showing right now, Kevin, on April 10th. The reason why I wanted to show you this workout was for a couple of reasons. That's Mo's a Handful in the lead right now, but the runner catching up to him relatively quickly is the graded stakes winner who's going to run in our feature race today, Desert Dawn. But the fact that Phil D'Amato elected to elected to work out Mo's a Handful with Desert Dawn tells me that he thinks this horse has some ability. Granted, the horse broke his maiden for 12,500 at Fairgrounds, but he won by 13 open lengths, not a margin of victory that you see from many racehorses at any sort of level. So the fact they brought this horse privately, they're protecting him today in an allowance race, allowance optional claiming race, and the fact that he worked with Desert Dawn, and not horribly, by the way, Desert Dawn, that's her galloping out in front, but Mo's a Handful still somewhat respectable. I thought Mo's a Handful was interesting. They also get the leading rider, Juan Hernandez, in the saddle. Those are my just concise cliff notes of race number 7. You looked at it a little bit more in detail, Kevin. Who do you like and why?
Well, I always like a horse who won by 13 1/4 lengths. However, I went with what turns out to be the favorite. I didn't expect Bad Sneakers to be the favorite. You're right, lukewarm. So there might still be some value in Bad Sneakers. I thought that last race maybe can be ignored. First off a layoff for a horse who's been pretty sharp. Second off a layoff. The race was dominated by closers even more than we would expect. And this horse was up close. So I really thought Bad Sneakers has a chance to bounce right back. And if he doesn't do it, it could be that way outside post position that does him in. But I'll take my chances.
We see, Kevin, you give a little love to the second place horse, or I should say the second selection that you have in this race, number 7, Smooth Salute, who's taking the blinkers off for Alfredo Marquez. What was it about Smooth Salute you kind of liked?
Yeah, I think
closer.
Yeah, Marquez is 2 out of 3 on horses taking the blinkers off, and 2 out of 6 on turf to dirt switches. That probably was part of it. And yeah, not much more than that.
Race number 8, we're going 6.5 furlongs in the turf course for fillies and mares. Claiming tag is $30,000. The condition is non-winners of 3 races lifetime. Scratch the 1, Dendera leaves us with a field of 6. Number 2, Northeast Star. First off the climb for trainer Peter Miller is the 2-1 morning line favorite. 6 different ways you can go here, Kevin. Which way are you going?
Yeah, exactly. I call it a 4-way race. That's just counting horses I would see as as real contenders. I'm going with Inner Beauty. I'm always taking a second look at horses who get Edwin Maldonado on and who show a hint of speed in their past performances, and that's the case here. So that's probably what nudged me toward Inner Beauty over, I think, Smart Kitten, or no. I think that's another one where I switched. My number 2 pick now is number 2.
Correct. Northeast Star.
Northeast Star. Yeah, but I'll hope to see Inner Beauty on the front end.
Kevin, I mentioned we're coming up on the 30-year anniversary of watching Go for Gin win the Kentucky Derby. Are you going back to visit the Twin Spires this year, or are they going to keep you in Southern California?
I am not. I'll be here, and who knows if maybe the Preakness gets really interesting for Southern Californians, or Bob Baffert returning to the trail. Well, you never know, but no, not this year.
How many Kentucky Derbies have you been to, and maybe what's the most memorable one?
Covered 16 of them. But I went to one before that, which happened to be Sunday Silence.
Unbelievable.
And
you didn't have a future book bet on them, did you?
I did not.
A lot of the guys in the press box did.
I did not, but I did make the biggest win bet of my career up to that point on Sunday Silence, and pretty much paid for the what was a vacation trip.
Sure.
And I also, I picked Sunday Silence having not been sold on him until somebody sneaked me the buyer figures, which in those days,
you mean they weren't published in the racing?
No, they were.
We're spoiled now, aren't we?
They were not easily available. Somebody and Sunday Silence stood out on figures while everybody,
like cheating on a final exam.
While everybody was touting Easy Goer, and it wound up. Even though I was there for fun, I did have a press credential. My standing spot for the race was right next to Andy Beyer.
Wow.
So to be standing next to the man himself and beating his horse, Easy Goer, with his own
number
figures, I thought, well, this doesn't get any better than this. And it never has.
No wonder you love the game so much. Race number 9 is our feature race on today's card. Is the Grade 2 Santa Maria Stakes. $200,000 guaranteed for fillies and mares, traveling 1 mile and a 16th on the main track. Scratch the 1, Big Novel, leaves us with a field of 7. Desert Dawn, the aforementioned worker that we just saw from the Phil D'Amato barn, is the 9-5 morning line favorite. Also, race 9 begins the $1 golden hour pick 4, linking our last 2 races here with the last 2 races at our sister track, Golden Gate Fields. We need a winner to cash a golden hour pick 4 ticket, Kevin. Who's it going to be and why?
I like the D'Amato horse, but which one?
Exactly.
Desert Dawn is.
He's got 3 of them in here.
Yeah, Desert Dawn is, and I like 2 of them. So Desert Dawn is no win machine, needless to say, but is a solid Grade 2 level horse, mare, and so I put her on top. But Super Shine could be anything at this point, and we'll find out. And I'm excited to see Super Shine run. So nothing too creative there, and I certainly don't rule out Coffee in Bed, the Richard Mandela horse in here. But good race, good Grade 2.
3, 5, 7 in no particular order. Before we take a look at the nightcap, Kevin, another question for you. Jockey on Super Shine is Frankie Dettori. Of course, he's an international riding superstar. Yeah. Have you had a chance to sit down with him and pick his brain a little bit? Or is that maybe an upcoming story that you might be working on?
I would love to talk with him. It looks pretty easy to do.
No kidding, right? He's pretty gregarious.
He's amazing. That day that he had
multiple winners
a weeks ago, 6 straight winners. That was like covering a no-hit attempt by a pitcher. You just wonder how long is this going to go on. That was really special. He's just a special athlete who would be a superstar anywhere else in the world.
And
right?
We're lucky to have him here riding in Southern California. He loves it being here, and we love having him compete here as well. Close out the day and close out the week in race number 10, going 1 mile on the turf course for maiden special weight Calbred. Fillies and mares. Also race 10 begins the $5 golden hour daily double. 1 jockey change. Make it Ricky Gonzalez on number 3, Another Summer. Also scratch the also eligibles. 12, 13, and 14 will not compete. This is a grab bag to close out the day. Number 9, Ashley Sandcastle. Again, another lukewarm favorite at 7-2. All right, Kevin. If you're going to sweep the card, we need one more from you. Who is it and why?
A lot of rematches in here, right?
Yes.
Out of a couple of different races, and it is a grab bag, but I landed on Ashley Sandcastle, who rallied and didn't miss by much off of a pretty soft pace last time, and maybe the last 2 times. So I'd look for better here and or better result here, and it doesn't hurt to have Frankie Dettori.
It sure doesn't. And it doesn't hurt to have you as being my seminar guest today, Kevin. Before we go, one other wager to consider, which includes San Anita races, and that's the Coast to Coast Pick 5 wager. Did you see the payout yesterday? Another remarkable wager, a $1 minimum, low 15% takeout. Today's sequence begins with Gulfstream Park, race number 1. Post time for that is 1:50 p.m. Pacific time. Kevin, it's been 30 years since I got you on the seminar. Let's try to do it again before the next 30 years because I really enjoyed walking down memory lane with you. It's great to have you back on the beat here. Keep up the great work, and we'll do the seminar again sometime soon.
You too. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Kevin. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Next voice you hear will be track announcer Frank Miramati updating us with any late changes. Have a great afternoon, everybody, and good luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem. Afternoon and welcome to Santa Anita Park, the great race place. The track is fast, the turf is firm, rail on the turf at 10 feet. Here are the changes. In the first, scratch number 6, Apple Fest, overweights 2 and 4 each carry 1 pound over. In the second, we have a blinker note, and that's it. Race 3, number 1, Thirsty Love, 1 pound over. Fourth race offers a middle pick 4 on races 4 through 7, no changes. Fifth race kicks off the pick 6, no high 5 wagering. Scratch 1, Pacific Rose. Scratch number 2, Show Card. 1 and 2 are out, no high 5 wagering. In the 6th, number 7, Fly the Sky, the jockey Kyle Frey. The $3 all-turf pick 3 on races 6, 8, and 10 starts with the 6th, as does the late pick 5. In the 7th, number 2, Gavea, 1 pound over. Scratch number 4, Arrogate's Spirit. In the 8th, no high 5 wagering. Scratch 1, Dendera. The 9th is the grade 2, Santa Maria. Scratch number 1, Big Novel. And in the 10th race, number 3, Another Summer, the jockey Ricky Gonzalez. 6, Wishes to Riches, 1 pound over. Scratch the also eligibles 12, 13, and 14. Enjoy your day at the Great Race Place, where post time for the first is in 25 minutes at 1 p.m.